Okay, so in this video, I wanted to walk through what I've been doing as an agency with SEO and particularly creating content, trying to figure out how to start to rank for the keywords that we want around Klaviyo, around email marketing, and kind of what I've been doing, what my experience has been like so far, and any successes that I've had. So right here, we are looking at the last 16 months of my Google Search Console. So you can see about a year ago, right, we were doing terrible. We had very little impressions. Our position was on average around 50, and we got very few clicks. So overall, this is kind of like where things started. And so this was obviously not a priority. I had a old business partner who had worked with a content mill basically and just created a ton of just garbage content, AI written, super templated, super generic. And so that's kind of like where we were. So we had been hit pretty hard. You can see here in our Ahrefs that we had a ton of pages, but no traffic. Our URL ranking had actually gone down. It was just all not good. It was not working, obviously, and it was terrible. And so I knew that we needed to do something. And so at this time, we were actually on Webflow, which I hate. It is the worst. And so right around here, when you see this big jump in our average position, this is when I switched us off of Webflow. So just switching us off of Webflow massively boosted our position with Google because of the way that Webflow was organizing all of our content. I don't really know because I'm not an expert in this, but just that switch alone took us from an average position of around 50 to closer to 20s. So you can see then we kind of like hung out around this like 20s section. And this is also when I was starting to just pay like a little bit more attention. So I was moving us off Webflow and I was starting to look at, okay, what other keywords do we kind of need to be looking for? Where do we need to be, or how do we need to be organizing just our on-page SEO and figuring out, okay, what can we kind of do there? So that was probably the biggest first switch. And then you see right around February that everything started to actually explode. So our position started to jump closer to 10, and you can see here this blue and this purple line here. This blue is our total clicks started to jump, and then our impressions there started to jump a whole bunch. We started to actually show up. And so what changed between here and here? One of the biggest things was you can see just at around that same time, you'll see a massive drop in this purple line, which is our crawled pages. We went from 385 pages down to around 138. And so this was a concerted effort to try to get rid of all of the old crap that was clogging up our website. And so what I was doing is I was rewriting any of the content that had started to rank and actually making it real, valuable, something that actually mattered, and getting rid of all of that old stuff, either deleting it, but mostly what I was doing is redirecting because there was so much overlap between these points and these articles. So I was taking the ones that were old, not ranking, or just generally garbage, and then redirecting them towards things that were more important. So you can see that massively dropped, which really started to help. And so that was right around this time, right? And then as this was happening, I was also trying to, like I said, rewrite old content and then create new content. So if you come over to our blog, I started publishing very consistently, let's see, right around that same time. So February, you'll start to see that these started to come out. I was pushing a lot of content out and really unique things, not just generic things, things that I have learned or insights that really only I had based on the work that we've done and kind of aggregating a lot of different things. And so you can see that really started to pay off. Now, Google started to index a bunch of things, so we kind of dropped off a little bit in our impressions and our clicks, but our position has more or less continued to climb. And so that is how we've kind of had this like steady upward trajectory. The other thing that I started to really do was build out some free tools that we have on our website. Now, transparently, these actually don't get that much traffic. Although, I do see people continue to come back and use certain ones, which is quite fun. But predominantly, I built this out as a test and also as a little bit of a show of expertise. These don't convert that great, but they do get used and they do get indexed. Um, so what has this kind of like all led to? Transparently, this has been probably a 6 month journey. Back in February, like I said, so a little bit less than 6 months since I really started pushing on this. And so far, this has actually only generated one call for my agency. So it's been a lot of work for just one call. However, I think that this is definitely a long-term compounding strategy. This is not something like ads or let's say, cold outreach that you kind of turn on and the next day you start to see if it's working. It's definitely more of a long-term play. And so I am really just planning on continuing to publish 1 to 4 posts a month. I have taken my foot off the brake a little bit now that the vast majority of the work has been done to kind of set us up. So I'm really just kind of focusing on being consistent, continuing to push things out there. And then the next step that I've kind of done is, you're watching this YouTube channel, is start to create videos specifically on things that I've already created with the posts or just other general topics that I think are interesting and relevant. So I'm hoping that kind of these two things together begin to actually compound long term and start to take us somewhere. So I figured it could be interesting for someone else that's kind of figuring out, okay, what do I do, or where do I start, or what kind of results am I going to see? Now, again, I am by no means an expert in this. I've kind of hacked my way to where I am, just kind of trying to figure things out, using AI as much as I can, and just trying to stay consistent with it. So, yeah, that's kind of all I got. So I'm going to stop rambling, and we're going to end this video.